Good morning. I'm Sheridan Carter. Thanks for joining me in the studio today. I've had a request to show how to attach the quilt top to the quilt top leader. So usually we float, but there are times that you would want to attach your quilt top to the leader also. So you have options. So first thing I'm going to do is find the center. There's actually a safety pin in the top, and that is to help me with my orientation. So I know that this is the top of the quilt because we have the safety pin in. That's a really good tip. Having that safety pin in your backing and in your quilt top will keep you from getting turned around. See the safety pin? We put a button on it to make it very visible. So I'm just going to put this up here. All right, so I have it laying the way that it will be quilted. Now what I'm going to do is take this pin out. We don't want to forget it's there. And I'm going to grab a pearl head pin. I'm going to fold this quilt in half to locate the center. This quilt was very nicely pieced, so I'm not concerned about the border being a little bit different and not getting the actual center of the quilt. When I pinch this down, I can see the piecing. It's exactly on top of a flying geese point. So as I just fold that up like that, I can tell that that is exactly the center of this quilt top. I'm going to place my pearl head pin right in that fold line. And the purpose of that is I'm going to match this pearl head pin with the center mark on the leader. And it's very visible because my zippers are also marked with the center. Then I'm just going to pull up the other end of the quilt, the bottom, and do the same thing. Bring it up. Just verify that I like the way that it's folded in half. Borders can be a little tricky. Sometimes you have to rely on going into the center of the quilt, not so much just concentrating on the border. Like I said, this one's pieced really nicely. So see the flying geese point right here? I'm just going to go from that up, and that's going to tell me where the center, the actual center of this quilt is. Get a flower head pin. I'm going to put it in multiple bites. When I say that, it means I'm not just going to poke it in one time, but I'm going to kind of take multiple bites. That way the pin's not likely to come out on me. Okay, so that's there. I also, if this were my quilt, I could even take a little chalk marker or a blue washout marker and mark it so that the pins don't even have to stay in the way. And now I have the orientation of the quilt, and I have the center marked. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the quilt top and I'm going to scoot it over there. I'm going to go to the back side and smooth that out. Okay, so the center mark, the pin that I have right here, needs to match the center mark on the leader for my quilt top. Oh, here we go. I'm just going to show you one or two. We've already gone past pinning. So I'm going to take out the pearl head pin now, and I'm going to pin into the leader, keeping that center of the quilt matching the center of the leader. And then I'm going to continue pinning from the center out, and then that quilt top will be attached to the quilt top roller. I've attached the quilt top to the quilt top leader. It's marked, identifying it as the leader for the quilt top. And now I'm going to release the brake, and I'm going to start rolling this towards me. Okay, I will stop periodically and smooth that out. Then as I'm rolling, there's a little bit of friction because it's going across the take-up roller bar. Stop periodically and just kind of give it a gentle smoothing out. So now I'm almost there. Just a little bit of squeezing out, gentleness, gentleness. Okay, so I'm going to roll this up all the way on this roller, because as you can see, I have my backing loaded, but I don't have my batting loaded. So that would be the next step. But for attaching the quilt top to the quilt top leader, it's really easy. So if you are back and forth between, do you want to float? Do you want to attach your quilt top? You have choices. Try it. See what you like. There are times I float, but even when I float, if the quilt is waterfalling down in front of the frame, I usually stabilize it by placing pins along inside here. But that's on floating, not on this one. So I'm just going to roll this up, and I'm going to leave this pin in. Super, isn't it? This is a little bit loose now, you can tell. So I'm going to put my brake on, and when I tuck my batting underneath bar number 2, it's going to be super. It's time to get our batting on the quilt. Now I'm going to have this waterfall down. Okay. I'm going to rub along bar number 1. Then I'm going to pick up the batting, accordion fold it a wee bit, the under bar number 2, which is the quilt top bar. And then bring the batting up towards the top of your backing. But now that's covering my backing, and that doesn't please me, so I'm going to back it up just a wee bit. I want to be able to see my pins. Then I'll just give this batting just a little wiggle jiggle. Notice that I'm not using little tiny pulls. I'm getting a large amount of batting in my hands and giving it a wiggle jiggle. Tuck that under the table. We're good. I'm going to lift the brake. Walk up to this, unroll it just like this, put that pearl head pin matching the center mark on my zipper and on my leader. Take the pin out. Tuck it right into the top, the batting, and the backing. Why am I doing that? That's going to keep me from getting skewed left to right now as I scoot this fabric. That's looking fantastic. It's fantastic. So make sure that I smooth it out, that I like the way it's behaving. Now I'm going to tighten up the brake. So I'm going to lift the handle, give us a little roll right there, and that couldn't be any better. This is perfect. The next step would be put your side clamps on, put your thread and bobbin on your machine. Then what I recommend on this, which is different than we do for the full float, is I recommend you come to the center, remove that pin, and bring up your bobbin here, do a couple locking stitches, and base to the right, come down, cut your thread, come back over here, go to the center, bring up your bobbin thread, lock your stitches, and then travel to the left and come down. And of course that would be after you had your side clamps on. You really need your side clamps on to stabilize the backing before you start basting. So this is how you load your quilt top. And whether you float or whether you decide to do it this way, your projects are going to be beautiful on your APQS Millennium. So I look forward to seeing you soon. We are open for business. We have renters, we have classes, we have a lot of exciting things going on. If you want to know what we're doing day by day, I try to post frequently on Facebook. So check in Sheridan K Quilting on Facebook. You'll see some of the beautiful projects that are finished here, and maybe that will encourage you to join us for your next project. So see you soon. Bye-bye for now.